You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Leafs in 7. I am manifesting the poppy vibes today with the mustache hat, fully equipped for Movember. It's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill, the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. What's going on, Rosie?
Game day, baby. I'm excited to watch the hockey, see what happens out there. I don't know what to expect. You?
Yeah, that's the carnival. It is the Toronto Maple Leafs. You just never know what team's going to show up. But hey, if this team has any ounce of pride, we're going to see their best game of the series tonight.
I think so. They've had bounce backs before. I don't know if Austin, I'm assuming he's out. I just seem like all signs are pointing to out. So I'm just assuming they'll kind of like rally around that. Maybe that'll jerk something loose in some of these guys to say, holy shit, I need to do something, really different here, like fill in for Pappy here. So I don't know. We'll see. And goaltending situation is going to take like a Vezina winning performance from somebody to, shut the door and give these guys a chance. It's some things need to go right, no question, but they can win a game against Boston.
We have exclusive video from practice. It's chill times. We're all good. Nylander and Marner, we're all kumbaya, buddy. Did you make anything of this little thing? I mean, what are they going to do? Frown at practice? I get it, but the fact that this was out there yesterday was so Toronto.
It would piss a lot of people off, but it's one clip. There could have been 20 other clips where they were like hyper focused with a furrowed brow and, ripping off reps in every drill they did, whatever. And then you catch them having a chuckle. I don't put a lot of stock into it. Is it a kind of a bad look just because? Yes. Did they choose to use that one clip because it was a bad look? Yes. Not putting a lot of stock into it. Mitch, you can laugh and smile all you want. Just give us some goddamn compete and some effort and just lay it all out there tonight. And, if you can, he's capable of being really good. If he's kind of a ghost again, it's just like, hey, maybe he's not capable of being good in the playoffs. I don't know, but show me something, Marner. Prove me wrong. Like shove it down my throat. Let's go. Like, do something. Show me. You're laughing. You're obviously positive. You're obviously not pulling your hair out. Show up tonight. Have a monster performance. Show Leafs Nation. Yeah, maybe not time to tear me apart yet. I can play this style of hockey. Prove it to yourself, for crying out loud.
Full credit again to Sportsnet for that video. And the way I read it, maybe I read it wrong, but it's like we're trying too hard to be happy. Where it's like we love each other. We're best friends. We understand the world is crashing to a halt here in Toronto, but we're gonna have fun at practice. That was my read.
Well, it's a weird place to be in that rink, man. The practice rink, you got, you come in the day after a bad night and you kind of tiptoe in there and you're kind of everyone walking on eggshells kind of thing. What's the meetings going to be like? What kind of video are we going to show? What angle is the coach going to take? Is he going to rip us? Is he going to have a, expletive laden rant, or is he going to be Mr. Chill, Mr. Positive? Is he going to just turn the page and focus on today? Like, what's going to happen? Then you get out there and there's all the media, all the cameras watching you, and you kind of got to isolate yourself and just kind of go into your own little mode. And Mitch Marner does that with the best of them. He doesn't seem to react to anything, sometimes almost to a detriment to, friends get frustrated saying, how can you sit there saying, point the finger at the media, like, you know what I mean? But you really isolate yourself when you're in that situation. And that's how it feels at practice. So they're probably in their own little world. I don't think they're worried about, what they're showing and what they're not. Maybe they are just trying to be hyper positive, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. The only thing that matters is what they decide to do tonight as soon as they hit the ice.
We need a status check. I won't lie. A lot of people have reached out over the last 48 hours and said, hey, what's going on there? Rosie was in one. They agreed with what you had to say, but just a status check, a general vibe check on you heading into Game 5 tonight.
We're doing welfare check.
Yeah, it's a wellness check, right? Yeah.
No, I mean, hey, that's the post game, man. That's the post game show. You are fresh. You just finished watching it. You literally turn off the TV when the buzzer goes and walk right over to your computer and they tee you up with questions. And I've never been as fired up after a game like that. I said, I'm not going to just try and twist and turn my words. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to say what the problem is. I was pissed off. and I had been Mr. Positive before that. Like, this team has proven for years now that the core isn't really playoff laden type of players. Okay, they said that's okay. We can surround them with those types of players, right? They bring in these different guys. They bring in the Domies and the Bertuzzi's and the Reeves, and they got, what's his on the back end?
Edmondson.
Yeah, all I can say is the other Edmondson, and brought in some more grit, brought in some more physicality, brought in some more playoff type of performers, and said, there, that'll fix the problem, right? And it just, so I was always like, listen, these guys can start clicking here. I'm noticing some clicking with Bertuzzi and Domi and Matthews, and some of these D-men are starting to. Benoit could actually, like, as much as he surprised everyone, he could go another level and be one of these playoff performer guys. And you're waiting for it to click and for them to come up together and play together with that compete and that passion. And I thought that they could do it this year. And then to show that, which was as bad as it's kind of been. And it's like you honestly went backwards. And then you listen to some of the comments after of, oh, we're not frustrated at all. Oh no, we're a confident group. And oh man, I don't question the level of energy, the level of compete. I don't question their effort level at all. And it's just such a Jekyll and Hyde between opinions on what happened out there. All the fans are just going, are you guys even like, how do we have this much disparity between our opinions on what happened out there, between effort level and frustration, all that? So I get he's trying to put the fire out a little bit and not create a stir. I'm talking about Sheldon Keefe, but I was totally pissed off. I've come down, you hold on long enough and then you blow your top. I've come down to say, you know what, we're in this position. I'm certainly not happy. I find myself thinking about what we're going to do in the offseason, what changes are going to be made. What do I want to see? What do I think will help? And then I got to be like, okay, listen, it's not over right now. People have come back from 3-1. Is it likely? It's not likely. But you get something special between the pipes and these guys, decide to lay it all on the line. All you got to do is win one. And then the next story is all we got to do is win one. And then you're in game 7. So I'm sitting, waiting, hoping to see a wicked outing. And I'm excited for the game.
Yeah, as I was saying yesterday, I mean, you've been officially enshrined into the Leafs Nation Hall. It's not even a Hall of Fame, but
Hall of
I
Shame.
mentioned when we started this show 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I guess Rosie didn't know everything that was going on with this team in terms of like the heartbreak in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I said, just buckle up. He asked me why I was always so negative about this team. And admittedly, I'm more negative than most people on this team, but it took a year and a half. You broke. I admire the positivity. It's amazing to me that this could be the final swan song. I know I called it an era on social media, and non-Leafs fans got back at me and said, what kind of era when they win one series in 9 years? I get that. But it's kind of like bittersweet how it's been pretty good times over the last decade, but it feels like a changing of the guard where it's like everybody's so fatigued. They're so tired. I think there's a chance we see an execution and that's it. We move on. Change is coming. Like I would like nothing better than the Leafs to flip this script and come back. But then I see what happened last night. And Florida just steamrolls Tampa in 5 games, Rosie. Whether it's Boston, they're not beating Florida. I'm as optimistic as I can be. They're not. So whether it's now or next series, it's just not happening for this team.
Well, there's been no indication that they're willing to prepared to do that, right? So I get that. Crazier things have happened in sports. I mean, things could change. I mean, you could go ballistic between the pipes and you could find all this chemistry and you could score at the rate that these players were scoring in the regular season. Is that likely? Am I betting on that? No, absolutely not. But you just look at where we are and it's crazy to say, this is an era. No one said every era is incredibly successful. But when you look back at this era,
we got big news.
What?
Sorry to interrupt. I know you're on. Austin Matthews, the first fucking player on the ice for the Leafs morning skate. Not take, skate. A good sign ahead of game 5 tonight. Sorry, carry on. I'm jacked about that. The guy showed up. Poppy power, baby.
And I was pissed off at Austin after the last game because we were kind of told food poisoning. And I was like, Austin, I was surprised because I think Austin has a little bit of go, like more than other guys on the roster. And I was like, Austin, really? Like you played the first 2 periods with food poisoning. Oh, good job. That you got to do that sometimes. It sure sucks. Not what you want to do, but you did. And then it's 3-0 and you start taking your gear off. And I was just shocked. And then to find out that stuff yesterday that, hey, he's dealing with something that they obviously won't give us a whole lot of information, but it sounds like it could be some kind of something more serious, right? Some
Yeah.
serious type of virus. I don't know what the hell it would be, but something more serious than we were led to believe. So, which made sense. Okay, Austin, now it makes sense. Like you're literally struggling with something. All the doctors around you trying to figure it out. You're probably giving blood on game day. They're trying to figure what the hell's going on. Makes more sense. And I don't know. The fact that he's out there first, I think he's going to go for a twirl and see how he feels. I could see him getting off before the rest of the team and that being that. But I guess it's better than nothing at this point.
I apologize for interrupting. I just thought it was important to bring that up, especially with the season on the line, especially the way last game ended, where he did not show face for the third period in that loss in game 4 to Boston. Are you ready to have that Steven Stamkos conversation? I think first and foremost, the Leafs can learn a lot about how they can treat, a captain, albeit I think it's different scenarios given the history with Stamkos and Tampa winning multiple cups, but he's a pending UFA. Do you think they can learn anything from this? And on top of that, if Stamkos gets to July 1, if you're the Leafs, are you placing a call at least?
It would be interesting, right? Like you've got if this was John Tavares' last year right now, right? I think it would be a better and more likely conversation to have. You got to hold a Phil. You got to go get a guy. It's a similar story, right? A guy that's from here that was a Leaf fan growing up. He's had more success with the Stanley Cups. In my mind, he's kind of shown, kind of really put his stamp on I am a leader. I am a captain. He's proven that. So that would be pretty neat. And I wouldn't be against it depending on the number. I don't want to get into another John Tavares situation where you fall in love with the guy and think he's going to be this answer, which everybody did. You think he's the one to understand what this team and city needs. So you're going to bring him in here. It doesn't really matter what it costs because if he leads to a Stanley Cup, it's going to be worth it. And then here we are going, we got to give him $11 million last year, and no one's even calling him part of the core 4 anymore just because he's aging naturally. And it's just he's not really doing a lot to get this team going, obviously, because the team is not going. It's more of the same BS in the playoffs. So if it wasn't for John, I would think it would be more likely, but maybe they'll squish him in here somehow. I don't know. It would be certainly interesting and something to talk about.
The answer is no. I just want to set you up. We're not doing this again. Definition of insanity. You've read your mentions. I've read my mentions. They just can't do the same thing. It is insanity. Do not do it. Okay. We learned this the hard way. I know a lot of people like to be revisionist and be like, oh, they shouldn't have signed Tavares. I'm telling you right now, John Tavares comes to you on July 1. He's from his hometown and all that. You're taking that conversation. You're signing the guy. Okay. So that's not me defending Kyle Dubas. But I think people are so quick to be like, how could they sign John Tavares? A player of that ilk at that point in his career, you are making room any way possible. Okay, so I think it's important to bring that conversation up. But with Stamkos, it's a bit different. You want to know the motivations. I just don't think it's a right fit. I think you bring up the good point with the fact that Tavares still has 1 year. You want to create more depth in your lineup. You want more on the back end. You're going to need a goalie. It's a wrong place, wrong time. Quite frankly, they had the opportunity early on in his career. It didn't work out. Damn Canadian Tire or somebody else. But I don't think it's a fit. And if you're to ask me, I mean, it's pretty telling the head coach's comments, Sean Cooper, last night about he's like pretty much to something to the effect of Stamkos is a bolt. I think both sides are going to figure it out here.
You'd think so. It's kind of weird how they did have their little like, why aren't you taking care of that better? He's taking care of you, if you're the powers that be that make those decisions, why you'd let that guy get to a point where he's, publicly and purposefully, spouting off that you haven't taken care of him, you haven't even spoken to him. Like you should have more respect for that guy and what he's done for you since day one of him getting drafted. So it's kind of surprising, but I wouldn't be surprised if he inked in and became, a Bolt forever. Unless he doesn't think they can win there and wants to go somewhere else. In that case, what reason would he be given that he's going to go and live or win in Toronto? Right? Maybe
True.
he doesn't want anything to do with that. He's been able to be down there. out of the spotlight to a degree where like you can go to the mall or you can go out for dinner and stuff like that, but you're still like a superstar and you still get tons of respect. You're able to wear your flip-flops to the rink every day. You're able to have a tea time after every practice and go play at the country club. Um, Everything that comes with living in Florida and on the coast and in the south and in the warm, and you go deep sea fishing and take your pick on why it's nice being
Mhm.
down there. You get no state tax. You're making hand over fist more money than anyone up here. So, and then all the scrutiny and everything that obviously everybody gets being up here and being pressure filled, which is only going to be heightened now that we're going to be going into a potential, rebuild of sorts or breaking things up. So I just don't see a lot of reason for him to want to, unless he wants to come up and have a chance at being a goddamn living legend for the rest of his life, to come up here and actually try to put something together. That's the trade-off, right? So who knows if it'll happen. I do think John having an extra year, though, would just, even if they wanted to, would throw too big of a wrench in that.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely at this point in time. We'll see how it plays out. I would add, too, that I think the wild card team in the offseason is going to be Chicago. When you have Connor Bedard, you want to start building around the guy. I don't know where it's going to start, who it's going to be, but I think when you have a player that's like a generational talent, you start adding pieces year by year by year. And I think we've noticed so many times, again, it's more of a retool in the NHL than it is like a rebuild. In other leagues like Major League Baseball and even the NBA, it takes 5-6 years to rebuild. I think you can do it in a couple years, especially when you have a talent like Connor Bedard. And then you look at Seattle, 3 years in, they fire their head coach. And that's why it makes the whole Keefe thing really, really peculiar too. There's been 17 head coaching changes in the last year, Rosie. And I mean, it's wild. I was on NHL Network Radio yesterday, and Boomer Gordon brought up the fact that now, like, the sixth longest tenured head coach, I believe, is Martin St. Louis with the Montreal Canadiens. Just take that in. It's wild.
He just got hired, it seems like.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's odd. I get it. Like when you look at this era and this Dubas build and the trepidation on, is this the way to go, and can you let this certain player go, and don't we have to re-sign this guy, and we kind of have a lot of the same style of players, and yeah, but they're that generationally good, but what about our defense, and maybe we need, it's back and forth. So they build this thing, they decide to run it back a couple of times, like, no, we're not ready, like we have something here. We cannot live in regret by unloading one of these guys and it falling apart and saying, look what we had and we bailed on it. So they run it back. They even fire the general manager, bring in a different guy who changes the look of this team. And here we are. So it's just odd to look and say, I get why they hung on to it. I get why they said, I'm not ready to pull the pin, but I mean, how could you possibly do more of the same if they don't get by Boston here tonight and the next night and the next night? You have to change the whole culture in there. And the easiest, most obvious way to do that is with the coach. So I think it's kind of an afterthought that Keefe won't coach the team anymore if they don't win this one.
Yeah.
I don't have any ill will towards him. I don't have anything negative to say about him personally or any of that. He's probably a guy that a lot of guys enjoyed playing for, and there's probably a lot of teams in the NHL that would do well to have him coaching their guys. It's just not here, not anymore, in my opinion. If you look at it that way, and as you just described, it's reason to think that wouldn't be crazy to say.
I got too horned up, by the way, because Austin Matthews has departed the session, was on the
Yeah.
ice for a few minutes. So make of it what you will. I don't buy for a second it's just food poisoning. I think there's got to be something up, especially a team as mum as the Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup playoffs with regards to ailments and injuries. It's just been a while. Dude, can you believe it's only been, a week and a half of the Stanley Cup playoffs and what we've been through as a fan base with the whole Nylander situation? We didn't even get that to breathe because then all of a sudden Matthews is dealing with something. Then he comes out of the game. It's like, is this team cursed? It really, really feels that way. We'll see if Austin Matthews plays tonight. And of note, too, I just want to bring up, I've heard some speculation the last couple days. Look out for Pittsburgh and Mike Sullivan. The Rod Brindamore situation is something we'll be documenting. He's a free agent in Carolina. Who knows with John Cooper? Does he want a new challenge? Like, there's going to be a lot of interesting names and fascinating conversation in this market. Let's hope it doesn't end tonight. Let's maybe this team has something in them, some juice, some jam. I know we're both smiling because we've had this conversation so many times, but it's up to these guys. It's their final swan song. If they want to play in maybe one more game at Scotiabank Arena, let's see it. That's all you could pretty much say at this point in time. Buckle up for the Daily Faceoff Playoff Parlay Challenge. Each game day, answer 4 questions, pick the winning team, guess if points will be over or under, predict the first goal, and choose the highest scoring period. Gift cards will be up for grabs for daily winners. And each round champion will pocket some hard-earned cash. Play today at games.dailyfaceoff.com. As you guys know by now, the playoffs are here. We are ready to bleed blue. We are bleeding blue. The Nation Gear is ready to gear you up for Toronto's playoff run. Rep your favorite team as they battle for the cup. Shop the exclusive Bleed Blue playoff tee and more at nationgear.ca. That's nationgear.ca. Should note as well to tune in to the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips tonight. I am the scheduled guest, so if you see just me, it's good vibes. It's positive vibes. I'll lay this out right on the show right now. If the Maple Leafs do not win this game, do we see Jay Rosehill make another appearance? I think we do.
I will probably be a little bit more toned down.
What's up, dude?
Maybe not. Maybe not. Depends how it goes, man. I can come on either way. And I mean, it'll be either they pulled one off, how did they do it? Or it'll be like, I can't believe the season is over. I can't believe it's done, and I can't believe it was more of the same. But we'll see. We'll find out. Tune in to find out.
Yeah, it's all you can do. So Leafs Nation After coming up tonight with Zach Phillips. I'll be guesting on there again. I think if the Leafs lose, we have to get Rosie on there. If they win, maybe we just keep with superstition because the lone victory in this series is on the post-game show. The other ones, Hutz was on one. I'm very superstitious when it comes to that stuff. Playing baseball for like 20 years, I never touched the chalk lines. I'm just that type of person. You've mentioned before you're not very superstitious, right?
I used to be. I used to have to do everything left first. I used to have the same amount of things on one side as the other to a point where it was getting kind of silly and almost like OCD-ish. And then I don't know, I got older and I was like, this isn't helping me. This is a distraction. Like, what am I doing? And I kind of bailed on some of it and then went against it just to show that you could. But yeah, I don't know. Some guys get into it pretty heavy. Some things are good just to feel like you're in the zone. And then some things are like, dude, this is taking away from your ability to perform how superstitious you're getting.
Man, do you have a ghostwriter on X?
No
Jay
way.
Rosehill on Twitter moments ago. It's called X now. Matthews pops on the ice just to see if he could possibly go. Answer was no. He steps off the ice. Is that your interpretation of what we just saw?
Did I just write that? Yeah, man.
You have a ghostwriter?
No, I was giving her one of these. Yeah, my wife runs my account upstairs.
Do it.
Imagine. No, I could see when he came on before everyone else and you were jacked. I'm like, dude, it ain't because he's amped to go and saying, I'm going to lead this team. It's because he's like, before anyone else gets out there, all the doctors just want to say, can you even fathom possibly playing, or should we just shut this down right now? Goes out there, lasted what, 6 minutes?
Yeah.
And just not a chance in hell. Get me off, get my gear off. We got to go hit up the rest of the doctor. I have no idea what's going on. Like, what is this, mono or something? Like, I'm thinking of some kind of virus that's getting worse. That's not going away. That's just majorly preventing him from playing.
Dude, mono wouldn't do that to you unless it's in a large spleen. I had mono. You feel tired, but you're still able to conduct life.
Like, what is this thing? It's not a flu. You don't get the flu. Doesn't get worse after 2 weeks. They hinted that he's been dealing with this for a couple of weeks, correct?
Yeah, this is wild. The speculation that's growing again, this is the Maple Leafs doing. This happened with Nylander. We're doing it again. They have to change their policy in the playoffs. Like, the guy could be near death, God forbid, and we're speculating why isn't he playing? Like, who knows? But
like, wouldn't it be better to just say he's got this virus and this is the name of it? We've got all our doctors looking at it. If he's able to play, he is, but we've been advised that the reason it's getting worse is because he keeps playing. We're at the point where this could start to be a detriment to his health. So we are monitoring it very closely. If he can play and is allowed to play, he will. He wants to. He has verbalized that. If not, that's just the way it goes. We have to take care of this guy's health. Boom. Thank you for the information. Now everyone can, settle down and the Leafs don't have to be under ridiculous scrutiny. And like, why make it worse than it already is?
I do not understand the secrecy with this type of stuff. Even the Nylander stuff. It's hockey. There's going to be contact. This notion that you're going to go after his head and play any differently is ridiculous to me. And I just think this is another prime example of the Maple Leafs big braining. Like, just tell me what's up with the guy. Like, it can't be just a virus where it lasts 3 days, because we're looking at a week now and the guy's not better. Like, there's obviously something substantially wrong. And I just don't, I agree with you. Why can't they just tell us? What's going to change?
I get being in that room and having to isolate yourself and play the game. And it's like, you gotta, how will they react to this? And you always want to be in control. And we know the Maple Leafs always want to be in control of the narrative and what's being said. So I guess that's the back plate for taking that road. But like you said, if you look at Twitter since the beginning of this series with Nylander and now with with Matthews, like, are you kidding me, man? People are going to be going bananas trying to figure out what it is. Everyone's going to want to be the first person to announce what the story is. And it's just, I don't see any positives that come from it, man. Maybe they literally have no freaking idea what's going on with him and they're scrambling to figure it out. And they don't know what to say.
I'm just so tired of it. It's always the same thing. It is the secrecy. It's like, no, we can't tell anybody. And like, I just think it makes them look more stupid and more dumb. And I think it puts the player in a tough position. Honestly, like, I'm being serious. Look at all the heat that Willie Nylander got. Matthews is getting it now. Like, who's to say he doesn't have something very severe? Or, like, I just don't like the way they handle it. I really don't. And it seems like the Leafs seem to handle it much differently than any other team in the league. I get the media thing, but like, just come out and tell us. Well, I don't know what the opposition could possibly do with the intel, with the information, if the guy can't play. But anyways, I digress. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. That would really help us as we grow our brand here. TheLeafsNation.com. Make sure to check out that fantastic website as well. The team there doing some great stuff. I have articles quite a bit on a weekly basis. Producer Vic as well, as we continue to build things over there and hopefully extend this series past 5 games coming up tonight in Boston between the Bees and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The opening segment is brought to you by Greta Bar YYZ. For a good time, find Greta. Opening weekend was a fantastic success. 590 King Street West, weekly specials, live sports, over 60-plus arcade games. Let the games begin. Go big. Go to Greta Bar YYZ. So if Matthews doesn't go, we were seeing Domi centering Bertuzzi and Marner at practice. Do you like that trio, Mr. Keefe?
I mean, I don't mind it. Of course, I really like the chemistry that those three had, a la Matthews, with those two going into the playoffs. Like, Domi was finding Matthews, just knew where he was. Like, sometimes you get these line mates where it's like you can go with your back towards the guy and just get the puck to the spot where you know he is, because you know in this situation he loves to go there and wants you to get the puck to him there, and it's just clicking. And then you got Bertuzzi being, Bertuzzi in front of the net, and he can bang in those rebounds and get those, second cracks at it. So that was great. And with Marner, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. He'll be trying to get the puck. Like, I think Domi seems like he's more of a disher, right? And Marner's certainly more of a playmaker. So who is everybody going to be setting Bird up, or are they going to switch it off each other? Or
Let's keep passing to each other.
just keep. They tend to overpass it a little bit, and the power plays had struggles with that. You look at the D-man up the top. I was watching the Oilers game a while ago, and they just clap bombs down Broadway, top titty, boom, and they did it twice in one game. I looked at my buddy. I'm like, man, the Leafs never score like that. They never do. I mean, not that they're trying. It's just different style of power plays, but you look at our power play and go, well, what's shot us in the foot this whole series? This series could be on its ear if they had, what percentage of a power play, like a 28% power play would be fantastic. We'd be smoking them. So it let you down. But yeah, I mean, both, they're good players. They're going to be making plays out there. I hope that Marner gets his back up a little bit, gets a chip on his shoulder, and plays hard and flies into the the greasy areas that Bertuzzi's creating, and tries to jump on some rebounds and does a little pushing and shoving, and gets a little bit pissed off and moves his bloody legs and beats guys into the corner. And I hope he takes a couple of bangs against the glass to cycle it down to Domi and then get hot and clap for that. Give me that one timer, and let's go, Mitchie. Like, show us something. I think it could be good. It's up to them though.
It's a lot of hope when we haven't
Yeah.
seen it for 9 years, man. If that is your hope for Game 5, that's where we're at here in Leafs Nation. I get it, but yeah, goes without saying it. Especially if Matthews can't go, it's got to be the big boys driving the bus. Tavares, Marner, Nylander, they got to play as a team. I think you look at Boston, perfect illustration of that. There's no way with what the Leafs have up the middle that you're getting schooled by Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha. They're getting schooled, right? And
Kinda.
it's just a sickening conversation to have, and it's a definition of insanity. It happens every year. I think it comes down to coaching. I think the one great thing I saw at practice, they're putting the fourth line back together. Like, why are we putting Nick Robertson on the fourth line? No, thank you. Dewar, Camp Reeves, let's do it. Let's go out hitting at least. If it's going to happen tonight, it's going to happen. But let's go out hitting. Looks like Liljegren's going to draw back in for Brody. And by the way, Joseph Woll not on the ice for the morning skate. Assume he's going to start. That's the right call, right?
Yeah, I think so. I thought that's what they'd go with, and that's what I wanted. You'd think he'd take a couple of reps, but I guess not. Didn't feel like that. It's pretty up to the player, man. Sometimes the individual doesn't even know what to do. Like, should I skate this morning or should I not? Do I want to get my gear on? Would it be good for me to get a sweat on? Or would it be better for me to just go in the gym and just roll and stretch like crazy and get some work done on your neck or whatever's bugging you? It's to each their own at this time of the year. Usually the coaches say, listen, you guys do whatever the hell you need to do to get ready. Obviously, Woll, I'm assuming we're not wrong, is deciding that he's going to stay off and not take any shots. I just feel like it's kind of weird not to take any reps, any shots, even just little stuff with the goalie coach shooting on you. Just feel the puck a little bit, but I can't think Sammy or Jones going to play. So, no, I wanted Woll in, and I mean, here's an opportunity that I think is great for him because the weight of the world, as much as you could argue it that it's an elimination game against the Bruins for the Leafs in Toronto, you know what I mean? In Boston, but it doesn't seem like the damage has already been done. It seems like, and we'll go in there, and the sky's the limit for his potential. He's very talented. I want him to be very confident, which he has been at point in times. He can go in there and just take another little step of, I am that good and I am growing and I am learning. And here's a good opportunity for me to step in and show that. I think it's awesome because he could steal a game. Any goaltender could steal a game. Look what Swayman's been doing all goddamn series, man. Like, not even like, let's just make sure Ullmark, who won the Vezina last year, sit him on the bench. Like, don't play him. He's not good enough. It's too risky to put him in as a goaltender because he might not be good. How's your problem in the net there? And then the Swayman's just standing on his head. It's just crazy, man. Like, how do you compete with that? We don't have it. Need to get it. But Woolsey has a chance to step up and do something special. I could see that happening. Him having a really good game, win, loser, or otherwise.
Very defeatist vibe in the chat. Understandably so. Not to be too graphic. It's like, I feel like I've been shot and I'm bleeding out and there's nothing I can do. I'm going to watch them lose at some point in time. I don't even, like, I'm just thinking right now, is it easier to swallow losing in OT in Game 7 or watching this team, especially knowing change is coming, lose this way? I don't know what the right answer is.
Well, to get it to Game 7, they'd have to show, it would give you some life or give people some hope.
It would hurt more. It would hurt more.
Of running it back, though, of being like, listen, these guys showed that they could. We had illnesses, we had injuries, we had issues. Once, when their back was against the wall, they responded. They got it to Game 7. And after that, it's a coin toss. They'd be like, oh, God, that would really hurt to get all the way there and then get some hope again and then lose. But I don't want them to get smoked tonight. I don't know, man. It's just it's going to be a tall task. If they get to Game 7, they better fucking win.
You know what's amazing is, like, 2 weeks ago, we had this conversation. We're like, this is a different team. And you're like, we don't care much for load management and all that. And it's like, let's just get to the playoffs and who cares about this losing streak? But the negative vibes have translated to the playoffs, and you start to wonder if the whole chase for 70 and everything that came with that and playing these guys a bunch and putting Matthews on for 4-minute shifts, if they factored in, or is Boston just a better team? I mean, sometimes you tip your cap. According to Sheldon Keefe, they're a great team over there. I guess the Leafs aren't. There's always a better team on the other side. It's never Toronto's fault, but I just want to see accountability. We've talked about this a lot over the last 72, 96 hours. Just hold somebody accountable. I don't care if it's tonight, if it's after the game, if it's tomorrow, if it's exit interviews. Accountability is my word of the day. I just want to see it in this market, Rosie.
Yeah, I agree with you. It seems like there's been a bit of a lack of it. And you go back to like, where did that go wrong? And I truly believe that they hired Mike Babcock to fix that problem, to have accountability at the helm with these young, talented players. And obviously that went wrong. We all know the story. He turns out he was a guy that we didn't really know he was that bad. In this day and age, you can't get away with it. The culture in hockey was changing. He didn't get on board, obviously. Total freaking disaster. He's gone. And then, well, what do? Well, we just hired, the mean guy, the strong guy, the no bullshit type of guy, the not warm and fuzzy type of guy. So naturally, we have to go to this other guy who's on the Marlies, and everyone seems to like him, and he's got them to win a bunch. He's going to be good for these players. Everyone's going to like him and want to play for him. So you do that, but then out the window goes accountability, and it just seemed like a country club a lot of the time. It seemed like no one cared more than the fans a lot of the time. I know that's not true, but just with the reactions and stuff, it's like, man, how are you saying the polar opposite of everything that everyone else is saying? It gets a little frustrating. So yeah, it's tough for Keefe. I mean, I think in order to keep his job, he's going to have to win this series and maybe even the next series. And we said that before the playoffs even started. So tough spot for him right now. But again, all they're saying in that room is one day at a time, one game at a time. Just got to win one.
Charlie Hastings, Nick is the most negative host ever. Thank you for watching, Charlie. I appreciate that. Somebody else wrote in, has Rosie figured out what a vulva is yet?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, I knew from the whole time. I think it's just kind of the whole thing, right?
Was that just a bit?
I think so, yeah. And then he bit on it, and I was like, "Oh, here we go. Let's get off of this topic."
I was gonna say watching. I thought Rosie knew what a vulva was. It takes hard work and determination to bring home the cup. Luckily, all you need to do to bring home Wendy's rewards is eat. Just download the Wendy's app, place your favorite order, and you'll be well on your road to the victory. By victory, we mean free food, obviously. And hey, while you're racking up rewards points and eating your way through the menu, you'll also find plenty of deals along the way to keep morale high. So what are you waiting for? Download the Wendy's app today and start earning on every order. The official game preview. Boston leads the series 3-1. It is game Senko. The big story for me is the power play, Rosie. 1 for 14. I don't know if you're a mathematics major or anything, but that's not good. That's really shit. Boston's power play, 6 for 13. Boston's power play has outscored Toronto 6-1 in the series. That is your story, my man.
They're 6 for 13. How nice would that be?
Sickening, dude. Their PP sucks. Their PK sucks. And they can't score goals. I am negative. Sorry. I'll try to be positive here.
Well, it is what it is, man. I mean, we'll be positive when we're doing well. I have tried to stay positive to the last possible second until it was no more, until it was official that they haven't changed much, until it was official that they hadn't fixed their problems. Like, did we honestly just get into the playoffs again and we can't score a goddamn goal? We cannot score on the power play no matter how many opportunities we get. We can't score more than 1 or 2 goals in any game. Like, come on. How is this happening again?
Dude, it's like 10 games. They've scored more than 2 goals like once. Think about that.
It's crazy, man. And I look at, like we were talking about before this started, like, how about the way they just shit the bed on the way into the playoffs? Like, I did have reason to think they were a better team than they're showing in the playoffs because they made these changes and they were showing it at times. And they were playing well, and they were on these runs where they're winning X out of X amount of games. You're like, holy smokes, are they really that hot? And it's like, they've got a lot of pieces right now, man. And it's clicking, and they're figuring it out, and they're getting better every day. And it was awesome. And then, yeah, the chasing 70 thing came along, and the different distractions. But it wasn't just that. They just fell flat and just totally crapped their pants for the last how many weeks of the season? Like 2 or
Yeah.
more. And it's like, are you really just limping into the playoffs, man? Like, we've always said we want you to ramp up into the playoffs and then pick up right where you left off. That's why I don't like load management and stuff like that. I mean, I get it to certain degrees, but I don't want to rest all our top players for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's pick it up here in the playoffs for this absolute beast of a game everyone faces, game 1 of round 1. And then they limp into it. They absolutely limped and died at like the finish line, which becomes the start line, and away. And look what they did in the playoffs. It's so frustrating, man. But the positive, you want to be positive. The positive thing is they're not done yet. So they're not done yet. I'm going to be watching tonight, see what happens.
You know what my positive is? They didn't trade their first round pick. They didn't
Ah,
trade their first round pick. I think that tipped the hand of how management feels about this team or felt about this team, their deadline. Stewart, Edmondson, Cade Weber, like they didn't really add players of significance that are really going to push you over the top. They added some guys that make them harder to play against in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I have no problem with that. I think you look at the Cowan selection last June. Turns out he's going to be the hell of a player, at least. I mean, on the surface, had a really, really good junior season. We'll see if he cracks the roster next spring. So there's that to be optimistic and positive about. Ryan Reeves comments after the morning skate. The Bruins gave up a 3-1 lead last year. Sports is a crazy thing. We've all seen some crazy comebacks. Love it.
it's true. It's true. Weird things happen in sports. Is it a high probability of that? Is he saying there's a really good chance it's going to happen? No, he's not. He's saying that it can happen. It happened to this team last year when they were supposed to be a better team. It can happen. I like that they believe. If they don't believe, why even play the game, right? I get that it's unlikely and that makes you roll your eyes, but why he has a chance to play in the game? Why wouldn't he be saying that? What would we be thinking if he wasn't saying that, right? So I'm all for it. Go fucking try. Unload the tank. Leave it all out there. There's literally nothing to save it for. Go see what can happen. Go see if one of those crazy wild things can happen. Like, I mean, look at the Boston Red Sox when I remember that game going, like crazy things happen. You never would have thought about that against the Yankees with their hit. You want to talk about a team that was cursed? We got what 50 some years. They had 108 or some bloody like crazy things happen, and it's special when they do, and you remember it when they do. But better get going, boys, because game's tonight.
Unload the tank is what I gathered from your little excerpt there because
Yeah.
some pride, some juice. Game 4's on the back burner now. We've let our emotions out in that game. I cannot see that again, especially in a game 5. It's like you're going to say all the great things you're going to say over the last couple days in terms of the players and coach and work ethic. I just want to see the best damn effort of this series. Unload the tank, play your best game. If it's not good enough, you tip your cap, you move on. Did you see Nylander? Apparently, according to Chris Johnston, was actually mic'd up for the Amazon series last game.
That's what I heard, and I was like, "Get us that audio, hey."
Wah, wah.
Do you think it was just what we said? Like, stop crying. This isn't effing Junior anymore. Do you think that's word for word verbatim what he said?
Well, as somebody who knew directly the whole all or nothing series, how closely guarded that was from the Maple Leafs perspective, I doubt that it'll ever see the light of day.
I
But
bet you that
if it ever does, I want to see like a full crybaby emoji because I think like, dude, how good would that be to not only hear Nylander say it actually like on a mic, but I want to hear what happens around him, what's said around him, like what's Poppy saying, what's Marner actually saying, what's the coach saying.
yeah, I want to hear the whole bench conversation there on several of the post shift sits on the bench. Be very interesting, but I imagine the Leafs would have complete creative control and not one thing would see the light of day without somebody going through it all with a fine tooth comb. That's just how they operate. They have the ability to pay a guy to do that. It's is what it is. But I kind of start to question why is he putting a freaking mic pack in his
In his
pants
first game.
and it up your thing and tape and get it and hook it on? And are you kidding me, man? That's what he's dealing with. Like I've seen that happen before. I've been mic'd up before. You got to wear this somewhat heavy thing in your pants and it goes up and you can feel it against in between your shoulder pads, and they clip it somewhere, and you're thinking about it. Everything I say is recorded. Why the fuck is he having that in game whatever of the playoffs for the Leafs with their history? Like,
It was his first game back from a head injury too.
literally, exactly. No, it's more important. We're gonna get some fans out of this show. Like, you need more? You need more money? Like, what are you doing? That's frustrating. That just hit me just now. Like, why in the hell was he mic'd up for a playoff game? There's coaches and guys that say, you're not putting a mic on me for practice, man. This is our little sanctuary. We're focused here. We got a job to do. I'm not worried about your bullshit show. For practice, he's got it in a playoff game. Wake up, man. Like, that's frustrating. No wonder, man. Like, so much crap going on behind the scenes, left, right, and center. And these guys can't bring themselves to just get on a simple, narrow page of just, that's annoying to hear. Sorry. I guess he's mic'd up. I guess everyone's mic'd up now. It's important to hear what they say out there.
Hell, I was mic'd up in Jasper on the pond.
I know. And you think about it, don't you? And you know that
You
you're
do,
mic'd
man.
up.
It gets in your head. I'm
Changes
like,
your mind, changes your mindset, changes what you're thinking about, changes what you say.
yeah. Because I put this out last week. So Nylander, I think, is one of 10 players that are mic'd up for this Amazon series that's coming out in the fall. And I think there's an additional Leaf. I don't know who that player is. I don't know if it's Matthews. I think it would be incredible if it was Mitch Marner. But I heard there's an additional Leaf involved in that process. But that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, the first game back, like, shouldn't he be worried about, like, hey, can I take a hit? Can I do this? Can I do that? But, like, no. Right away back to Hollywood. Let's put the mic in me and see what happens here. But I would love to see that hit the light of day. That whole commentary, the whole tantrum. Like, that's going to be a defining moment. We look back at this era of Maple Leafs hockey, and I use quotations because what really happened in this era, I mean, there was some really, really good statistics put up in the regular season. That's about it. But I would love to look back and really find out. Like, I would love like a 30 for 30 on it or something. Like, what actually transpired? Did Matthew step up in the room? Be guys like, I'm not doing this. Fuck this. Loses his shit. Rips his clothes off. He's like, I'm done. Full Ned Braden, man. Probably not.
I can tell you that's not what happened. But that show's pretty cool. I'm excited to watch that show. Like, that sounds cool and fun and awesome. And I am excited to watch that. But we're gonna watch it and be like, yo, so in this game 4 here, I know what happened and you just omitted it completely. It's going to lose its credibility if they don't show that. I think they should show that. What if Mitch isn't here anymore and when that thing comes out? Would they show that, or would the Leafs not allow it? I don't know, but I do know that those shows are cool 24/7, the ones they were making there.
So good.
They were so good. They captured the life of an NHLer so damn well that it was shocking, because I remember being a kid and just wondering, like, what is it like in the NHL? Like, the behind the scenes, right? And one time, NHL Cool Shots with Dan Moriarty, I think.
Yeah, that's so good.
Gave us a little shot of the dressing room, and the guys were in the stick room pulling sticks off the rack and curving them and chopping them off and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh my God, how about seeing that no access stuff? How about seeing that behind the scenes? I thought it was so cool. And if I would have had an NHL, or if a 24/7 to watch, like, you're on the bus, you're on the hotel, you're at dinner with these guys. Pretty awesome. They could pull that off. That was just the greatest series hockey wise that I've seen. And everyone's trying to copy it now with the Netflix specials and all this different stuff. So pretty cool. Hats off to it. Hopefully that series is good. I just bothers me that on the team that we follow and care about, they've got one of your guys mic'd up in the playoffs, coming back from injury. It's just like another distraction that I doubt anyone needed.
It always reminds me, I think like a decade ago, one of your former head coaches really had trouble with a toaster on the 24/7 series. Randy Carlyle. Did you see he guested on this show on Friday? It's unfortunate you couldn't make it, Rosie.
I know. I heard he did. He made her. Hey, that's good to hear.
You made it. We had some tech issues, but Randy Carlyle did arrive on the scene on Friday.
Well, speaking of a guy who's got, when you're on camera, you act different. I've never seen Randy Carlyle act like that. I was kind of surprised, but it's different when you're on camera and they're following you around. It's kind of it is a distraction. It is, something to do and to ask of an NHL team. And I personally just think that this team's got more problems that they need to deal with before they get more distractions on their plate. So kind of annoying that you find out Mitch Marner was mic'd up, not the end of the world, not the biggest thing in the world, but it certainly is something that I roll my eyes at.
You mean Nylander was mic'd
Oh
up?
yeah,
Yeah,
what'd I say? Marner?
Marner.
No,
Ah.
you know.
Is it sinking in for you that it's weird to me? Like Marner has been around for so long, and again, like you're always careful with this stuff. Who knows what these guys are thinking behind the scenes? Maybe Marner doesn't even want to waive his no trade. I don't know how he can't waive it, considering the heat the last 2 weeks alone. But it's like weird that like tonight could be the final time that we see all these guys together. Like Marner's an exceptional player. Okay, like that's the important thing to bring up here. Is like exceptional player is going to go down as an all-time great in franchise history, but we really could be witnessing the final game for Mitch Marner, a local product in a Maple Leafs uniform. Has that sunk in for you? It has.
Yeah, I think it's sunk in for me.
Yeah.
He is a good player, man. He's a talented player. Like that's what he is. He's very talented. He has more talent at playing hockey than I had when I dreamed of being, invincible out there on the ice in a literal dream. I get that. But there's an old adage that, hard work beats talent every time if talent doesn't work hard. And I just think that it's a waste that Mitch is that talented and he just has chosen not to develop any other part of his game. Like he's just in his mind, he's talented enough to not have to work hard and to not have to compete and not to have to do hard things in the playoffs. And the playoff record of the team that's built in large part around him shows that he's probably wrong in that. And that's what's frustrating. And it's not not a knock on anything else. It's just what I see, and I think it's what it is. And it is very possible he is not going to play for the Maple Leafs after this season. It's very possible things have to happen, but that's a very strong possibility, and it is what it is. Guys play for teams for a long time, and things move on. Like the greatest in the history of the game have changed teams and been traded and moved on and waived no trade clauses. It's all part of the business. But yeah, it is. I guess you can look at this game and say, wow, this could be potentially the last time we see some of these guys in these jerseys. And when you look at Matthews in his contract, Nylander in his contract, Tavares and his contract, Mitch is kind of the guy out, considering he's going to want a bump in pay. Like, you think we're ready to give him more money?
I hope not.
Seriously. So, yeah, that's a possibility while you're watching tonight for sure, which is crazy for some people who've been watching this era.
I'm going to try to think about that when I watch the game. Sheldon Keefe, too. I know we're ready to fire him. The whole market's ready to fire the guy. He's done some great things for this team. Again, there's a lot of pressure. I think it's important to humanize situations sometimes. I know we're hard on these guys. They haven't got the job done, but I think it's important to acknowledge their importance to the fan base, importance to the team. They've brought us some pretty damn good memories. I'm not Mr. Kumbaya, but watching Sheldon Keefe, like, this has been wearing away on the guy for a long time. And I understand people may not agree with his decisions. And like, I mean, just think about the guy at home and stuff like that. Like, I always try to do that in any walk of life. But I think the writing is on the wall for a couple guys, and we are going to finally see change. I think everybody, the brass, everybody involved is fully understanding of what's transpiring here. It's just like one of those things when I watch tonight, I'm really going to try to live in the moment and be like, wow, like Marner could not be here. Keefe could be gone. Could be some other changes. Could be the final game for Tyler Bertuzzi. I want Max Domi to stay. Is it gonna work? Samsonov on the bench. Like, it just, again, it's got that feel where it's like a change of the guard, change of an era, you know?
Yeah, and that happens with every team. It's time is undefeated, right? And these guys have done some pretty cool things, and it is a very likable, team, right? With Keefe's very likable. William Nylander's very likable. Like, you got talent like Matthews and Marner, right? And you want to pull for these guys, and they have given us good memories and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, to not just to like, oh, we didn't quite win it. Oh, we lost in the Eastern Finals. Oh, these guys didn't get it done. Like the Leafs eras of the past where they just came up short. It's different than that. They have completely and utterly failed in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
In 9 years, they've won one singular series. They couldn't get out of the first round for 9 years with all of this firepower and with Shanahan getting brought in and the hiring Mike Babcock and you give him $7 million a year or whatever the hell he was getting paid. And we just signed Austin Matthews first overall. We've got our superstar. He scored 4 goals in the first game he ever freaking played. Like, do you have any idea what the limit is for this guy? It is the absolute sky. Lots of things to be pumped at, but at the end of the day, and it's always been their knock, that's all great, but you just aren't even close in the playoffs. And it led people to question, is this the path to go with all these superstar guys and with all these offensive minded talented players? Do they have the grit that we see on other teams in June lift the Stanley Cup? Do they have that in them to get there? And that's always been the question. And now all these years later, to some people's surprise and to other people's not surprised at all, the answer seems to be no, unless a miracle happens.
Very well said, Rosie. Very well said. So we'll see what transpires tonight in Game 5. Leafs and the Boston Bruins. Will there be a gentleman's sweep, or will the Maple Leafs force a Game 6 coming up on Thursday night at Scotiabank Arena? It's time for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Going back to the Nylander well tonight, buddy. Anytime goal, shot prop. I'm horny for Nylander. Maybe he's mic'd up again.
Willie's your play. I like it. You always got the props and the people. I'm more team oriented.
Who wins? Who wins? Give it to me.
Oh, I'm looking at Jets, Avalanche, Canucks, Reds here. I don't know what the hell is going to happen in our game tonight.
Who has a better chance of coming back 3-1? Is it Winnipeg or is it Toronto? Or is it Nashville? Throw Schenner in there.
I would say Nashville. I was a little concerned about the Canucks going into the playoffs, not having like a similar deal with us, like being a little bit too soft, not having the grit to get through. I don't think Nashville is as good. But they have some character on there and some guys. It's interesting. It is interesting. I'm surprised that a lot of those are 3-1. I thought Winnipeg was better. I could say that. But they're playing against the bloody Colorado Avalanche. That's not ideal. It reminds me of us having to play either the Florida Panthers or the Boston Bruins in the first round. Like, thanks a lot for those opportunities, but I'm not making a bet, I guess, today. Leafs win. You guaranteed on the show yesterday the Leafs would win, which surprised the hell out of me.
When for Game 4?
No, for this game. You said what's going to happen. They are going to win this game.
Yeah, that it would be very Leafy. I said it would be very Leafy to suck us back in. They'll win 5, they'll win 6, and they'll push Game 7, and then they'll fucking puke themselves.
I think they'll win tonight, and I don't think it'll go 7 though.
Okay. You're always going to get candidness on this show. Phenom writes in, how many glasses of Rouge tonight for you, Rosie?
I think I'm going off the sauce a little bit. I've been taking a serious step back with the booze in. You don't need it to have fun. I'm not going to be on the booze too much. No, I might go on the post-game show. Like you said, if they lose, I'll come on After Dark. And if not, you won't hear from me. You'll get to hear Nick take all the glory once again after a Leafs win, which are pretty easy shows to do.
They're very easy. Yeah, very easy.
Shit. I think they'll win this one, man.
I love the optimism. Okay, you have come a long way. I think this has been very therapeutic over the last 96 hours for you. Where you were Saturday night to now, we've improved leaps and bounds.
They'll either win it, or it will be much like it was last game, and it'll be inarguable to burn it down, to shut it down, to make serious changes. One of the two will happen, is in my mind.
I was wondering if maybe Tampa fired John Cooper today. They can get him on the PJ in time for Game 5 tonight in Boston. Is that a possibility?
Why would he get fired for saying something misogynistic?
No, not about that. I'm talking just maybe it's like, hey, I'm ready to move on. Are you guys ready to move on? What's going on with Stammer? I want to go coach the team I love growing up. Pretty simple. Pretty simple.
That'd be neat. Wishful thinking. I don't think they'll let
Probably.
that guy go. I think he's one of the
No.
best coaches in the business, along with Joel Quenneville
Brind'Amour?
and who?
Rod Brind'Amour?
No, not Rod. Paul Maurice. I think those are the 3 best coaches in the game.
We had Maurice here.
I know he's awesome. Oh, yeah, that's true. Fuck, I forget about that era, man. That sucks it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Quenneville.
That's
we
your
can get-
pick. I think
we-
it's going to be Berube, but again, the post-mortem, this could be an extensive post-mortem here, at least one he takes. So we're going to have all avenues covered. Again, thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys, just tremendous stuff. Once again, we love you guys at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Plenty coming your way tomorrow, win or loss. Carter Hutton's going to be in the mix. We'll examine the crease moving forward. Again, the Leafs Nation After Dark tonight with Zach Phillips. I'm going to guest on there. If they lose, you're going to hear from Rosie as well. And we're going to move on with whatever happens tonight. So enjoy the game. Many thanks to producer Vic. Thank you to Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga, and we'll talk tomorrow. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.